To another top 5. With the new Lord of the Rings game coming very soon, and it's looking mighty sweet, I decided to do a new top 5 Lord of the Rings games, or top 5 Lord of the Rings games you really should play. Now, with every game series, there are a few that you should definitely skip. With Lord of the Rings, there's one that's very easy to skip called Conquest. Make it Battlefront, but it just doesn't work. And why? Because there's no lock-on system in a fucking melee-centered game. Everything else is pretty much bad. Oh my god, terrible voice acting. I'm talking about all of a sudden you're slashing and you hear these guys yelling at everybody, normal voice, and all of a sudden you hear this voice like, "They are charging!" And it's like God just spoke to you from above, and you're like, what the hell? I mean, it's that bad. Now that was a pile of shit. Anyway, let's get on to the top 5 worth playing Lord of the Rings game. Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. This is one of the best for obvious reasons. Solid combat, following the story of the movie, and co-op. Awesome. I mean, it pretty much is one of the best movie game titles ever, not just Lord of the Rings. The only problem I really had with it was really short and no real reason to replay. But with the 5 hours it took me to play, I had a pretty damn good time with it. Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. Now it's true, Return of the King did some things that are definitely better. Most noticeable are the graphics and combat. However, Two Towers had some of the best set battles and also was just cooler. Spanning both movies, 1 and 2, had a lot more length. And it stays true to my heart as the better of the two. Though they are exchangeable, so whichever one you enjoy better, it doesn't really matter. They're both pretty great. Lord of the Rings: The Third Age. Now, I know not everyone's going to agree with me here, but my little heart of love for turn-based RPGs made me adore this game. It followed the story somewhat of the books and movies, but what made the game was the great graphics, the atmosphere, and the fun idea of leveling up these Lord of the Rings characters and battling in a turn-based fashion. Sure, it was a little too much on the rails at times, but for a Lord of the Rings fan plus an RPG fan, I gotta be honest, I had a blast. Lord of the Rings: War of the... Is it War of the North or War for the North? It makes more sense if it's War for the North. Anyway, any game where you have a giant fucking eagle as your companion is #1 boss. Plus, 3-player co-op. Man, I fell in love with this game the moment I popped it into my, I believe it was 360. It's gory as can be, it's a bit darker than any other Lord of the Rings game, and there was a lot of loot to collect amongst other things and reasons to actually replay. It had a lot of things I look for in a video game, let alone a Lord of the Rings video game.
Street Empire, we legendary.
Lord of the Rings: Battle for Middle-earth 2. It's one of the only games where I skipped the first title and just went right to it, and I don't think I missed much compared to what most people are telling me. This is probably one of the best RPG games, RTS RPG games that I had the pleasure of playing. Had everything. Great races with all the pros and negatives to each race that made them balanced. Solid campaign. Overall amazing multiplayer. They had heroes that you both loved and hated and wanted to fucking murder on the battlefield when they came and destroyed your whole goddamn kingdom. And it just also had great stages too. Most games I don't put an excessive amount of hours into it, but I had at least 70-80 hours into this game, and I don't regret a thing. This is definitely my #1 choice for Lord of the Rings game. Now, saying that, the new one is looking mighty friggin' fine, and I'm thinking we're gonna get something along the top 5 here, maybe bump out one of the Return of the Kings or Two Towers. I don't know, but it's looking that damn good. I want you guys below to list your top 5 Lord of the Rings games, and there's more than like 8 or 9 of them, so I want to hear some difference. And if you put Conquest, you make my soul cry, but I'll understand.